So I suspect many of you are new to the channel or have not watched for a while and then are like, holy crap, Rob actually did what he said he was going to do and get this car running. Not only that, racing it against Ken Block in the very first shakedown of my life couldn't be a more movie-like moment. But enough about this car. This car is only a fraction of the channel, and it is the most important one. It's all I've been living and breathing, all of us here have been for the last couple months, but it's not the only project on the channel. So I want to get you guys all familiar with some of the other projects and what our plans are with them. First of all, this car couldn't exist without this one. We built the engine months ago. We have to rewire it. It's the current record holder for the half mile. It's ready to be finished. So this car is a shitbox in many definitions, and I want to keep it that way. These two are different cars, and I love them differently. And you may recognize this infamous hood as well. It seems like hoods on my cars are not a well-liked thing, but look at it. We rebuilt the engine. It's semi-peripheral. We got the turbo ready to go. It's half the turbo. And so it's simply just bolting it back up, putting a new harness on here, wiring harness. We reran power. So there's really not too much needed. It just needs time. And that was something that we had nothing of while I was freaking out about not dying racing a 1400 horsepower car. So this one gets back up to 950, 1,000. Switch it over to E85 and make it just a nasty, fun-ass street car. Which brings me to the next project. The car we stole all the parts of the 3-rotor off of were to get the rotary Corvette working. This is a C5 Vet, many of you are aware of it, but a lot of the older guys on the channel really know that this is kind of where the channel began to climb. The OG, the original ones, know it was back when this first came out of the channel, but it's the rotary Vet that really reinvigorated everything here. So the rotary Vet is just sitting there. It's running. We haven't even released all the videos on that, so you're about to see the engine that's in there being built, the whole series on the 2 rotors and how to make more power with a 2-rotor than ever, what vendors work, what vendors don't, what tricks, and what bullshit does and does not work, cutting straight through all that. Clearly, we've got a track record that's showing that rotary engines can be held accountable right next to the best and the biggest V8s. So that is a fraction of what we got going on. Come over this way. We've got the other 4-rotor being built. This is my traditional one that actually was lost infamously years ago, and that is not the one that's in that car. It's not going to replace the one that's in that car. It's for the C8 Corvette that is going to be, you guessed it, 4-rotor swap. It's going to be the first mid-engine rotary vehicle in a long time, all with the modern technologies of dual clutch transmissions, all of that. Back in March, I bought the very first crashed C8, and quite frankly, it just sat until we could finish this race with Ken. So it's getting fixed, completely repaired back to brand new. That's what all these boxes in the background are for. You'll see that as well. So shortly, as the video is already filmed, we replace and repair the car almost completely. Everything you see here is actually built to test the engine for the all-wheel drive car. It was meant to pretend it was the car. That's what all the space here is for, is to mimic the front bumper, to have the radiator, intercooler, and everything. Basically one-to-one from the car to this. Well, that really hasn't been a necessary need, but we've been able to run rotary engines on here, and this is the C8's engine. It is a more traditional 4-rotor. It's not billet, but I bought these parts 6 years ago. That was back when I had 60,000 subscribers. I took a chance on it, and it hasn't even been built yet, but yet here we are. So we'll make this engine one of the nastiest 1,000 horsepower engines ever. Non-billet engines above that are very sketchy. Their life expectancy is drastically reduced the higher you go over 1,000. I guess you could say that for a lot of the engines, but this isn't meant to be a 4-rotor. So we'll still finish it, put it together, run it in a street car, and make all the torque that we've been finding in all these other ones. But I wanted to show you, here she is waiting to go. The E-shaft's over there, the rotors are over there, and the rest of the block is right here. My favorite thing of all time is this box right behind me. A handful of you are aware, this is the E-shaft for the world's first capable of being turbocharged 6-rotor. So I guess you could throw a turbo on anything, but this E-shaft is specially treated to be turbocharged. There you are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and that is hardened for your turbocharging pleasure. This is going to be one of the world's first all billet engines, so we are talking about rotors, housings, irons, everything. And that's one of the reasons we're actually doing some of the work on the all-wheel drive 4-rotor right now, is because I want to make sure all my engines are intercompatible. I've got the CNC machine behind us, which let's take a look at that right now as well. As many of you may not know, I was held up for about 2 years by vendors that, just like you guys have the same story. Somebody holds you up, you pay for things, you wait, it never happens. I got tired of that and took things into my own hands. That's why I've been doing all of the welding myself, as well as the CNC fabrication. So this machine is going to be our test bed for making our very own rotary engines. Where better to test them than on the channel? You'll see what happens. I don't have anything to hide because I'm not selling them to anybody at any point in the near future. See what works. See what we can do to modernize the engine. So this allows me to rapidly prototype and make my own parts. It's fun as hell to do that and learn in the process. So we've got all of these cars ready to rock. And on top of that, one of the things that I've been telling the audience for a while, in bits and pieces, a 1-rotor, a 2-rotor, a 3-rotor, a 4-rotor. You'd have to build a custom E-shaft for a 5, but then a 6-rotor. So I want to have all of those in this shop and all of those turbocharged and doing absolute insane things. So it's finally time to be able to breathe for half a second and then get right back to work on every project in the garage. He's no shame. Kitty, you're a gross little kitty.
You having fun there, bro?
This is my shelf of stuff, as Chris just put it, that we've got all of these spare parts, but this is testing different generations of rotary engines. And of course, building them and testing them and seeing what holds stronger than the next. Not only that, we have all of these turbochargers from Garrett, variety, all variety meant for a 2-rotor engine, street weapon. And we're gonna be testing all of them and figuring out what rotary engines love the most in terms of boost. You guys know I love my boost, but we're actually getting into the technical side, the scientific side of it, and finding out what those engines want. We have all the results right here. This, of course, is one of the cars I've owned the longest. It's a 2001 Lamborghini Diablo VT, meaning it's all-wheel drive, viscous traction. But what I want to show you, more importantly, is this V12. I don't even have the V numbers. This is a V12 engine. But the important thing about it is the engine is right behind your head, and the block ends about right here. What other engine is that same length when it's all assembled? 6-rotor.